Hello, everyone, and welcome to Close Up on America's Business. I'm Michael Nader. This is the television news magazine that goes behind the scenes of the most successful businesses across America. We meet and talk with many of the most innovative business leaders in the country today and learn how new technologies are changing the world around us and in the ways in which we do business. You are about to see one of the most interesting and informative segments we've had the pleasure of presenting on this show. It spotlights a company that is one of the most outstanding in its field, a company that impressed us as being one of the very best.
Imagine having a very successful career for many years in the high-tech industry with firms like IBM and others, and then deciding to leave it all behind to go into business for yourself by buying a winery, and suddenly discovering you were having the absolute time of your life. Well, that in a nutshell describes the amazing story of Vince Galluccio, the owner of the Galluccio family wineries here in Catchog on Long Island.
It's been a passion of mine since I was a child. My grandfathers lived next to each other in Brooklyn in an area that's now called Cobble Hill. And they knocked out the stone wall between the two homes, all right, and they actually made wine in the basement. My father owned, at one time, 4 restaurants in Brooklyn and Long Island, and they made the red wine for the restaurants. And my cousin and I were the ones that were downstairs, because we were the 2 oldest in the family. We were the ones that were downstairs actually doing the work with them. We used to have these, the bottles that we used were the gallon Coca-Cola syrup bottles that we used to buy down the street from the original A&P company that had a soda fountain when they had the leftover bottles. So the wine was stored in there, and then we had those, and it was just a fun thing to do. And it was something that I learned to do, and I was doing until I was about 14, 15 years old. And then I moved on and was fortunate enough to go to work in Europe, and traveling through France one time in September, I saw the harvesters out, and I stopped. And I went in, and this little vineyard in the Rhone Valley, and I went in, and I had a weekend off, was driving around, and actually stayed for the harvest. And it was kind of a fun thing to do, and it got me revitalized and remembering all the fun I had about this when I was a child. And it was fortunate, when my wife and I met, I discovered she had the same passion, and I mentioned to her that I'd love to own a vineyard, and we started to look in Europe.
We thought about doing this for a while. When he worked in Europe, we looked at wineries in Europe, and he was going to retire, and that was going to be our hobby, so to speak. And then we decided, no, we'll come back to the States and stay in the States. And I saw this winery for sale, and they never advertise wineries for sale. I mean, I think very few on the North Fork have changed hands over the years. And so we went to look at it, and 1, 2, 3 made up his mind, put in an offer, bought it. I mean, before you turned around, we owned a winery.
When you found the winery and visited it and decided you were going to buy it, was there much discussion between the two of you about going into this venture?
When we looked in Europe, we knew we wanted to do it. We wanted to own a winery. We kind of forgot about it then when we came back to the States. And when we saw this on the market, we said, well, great, let's do it. And of course, like everything else he does, he does perfectly. He's a great visionary. He saw what had to be done. He appreciated what we had here, the history of the grapes. This is probably the 2nd oldest winery on the North Fork. He knew where we could take it. He put a lot of money into the land. A lot of people come in and they put money into the buildings. He put money into the product and into the land and into the tanks and the barrels, and so everything is the best.
It was a lot of work, a lot of change. The staff has changed. We brought in winemakers from France. We brought in our general manager is one of the best vineyard people I've ever known.
It all starts here on the East Coast, especially here in Long Island. A lot depends on the weather. So you're connected to Mother Nature. You depend on Mother Nature. We have a lot of sunshine days down here, so we're happy about that. But you still have to do your thinning, you do your work in the field to maximize the sunlight, which ends up maximizing the ripeness. These are 19-year-old vines here, so it's our older block. Some of our best Chardonnays come out of this block. We have a Cru George Allaire Chardonnay It got a 90, and the Wine Spectator is right out of this block. The older vines tend to be more mature vines and create more distinctive wines. And then we have some new plantings that are more French-style, tight spacing that we're also real excited about.
I want to have the highest rated and best quality wine with my name on it that I could possibly produce. End of story. And that's what we're achieving here. The reason I brought in a winemaker from Europe, actually Bernard Knack, is number one, he is a great winemaker. He's got a master's in oenology from the University of Bordeaux. He is not only a super guy, great worker, and we work well together as a team. And bringing in of the techniques that I'd learned from doing 7 harvests actually in Europe and taking winemaking courses in Europe and viticulture courses in Europe when I was living there and trying to integrate that old world knowledge into a new world style here on Long Island. And that's what you see now. The wooden fermenters to my right, left, and back are imported from Burgundy, and it's the same style that used to actually do fermentation of our best red wines. So we've made a number of changes like that. We've changed the planting direction here. Where on Long Island, people would plant 900 vines per acre. We're planting 2,400 vines an acre. It gives you higher density, richer fruit, more concentrated sugars, 2 shoots, 1 cluster per shoot of vine, basically 2 grape bunches per vine. And our yields are higher that way, and the quality is higher that way.
You know, a lot of people are very intimidated when it comes to the subject of wine and what to buy. But I understand one of the things you want to do is help educate people. How are you going to do that?
We started a group called 3 Minute Wine. And everything you want to know about Chardonnays and the food pairing on Chardonnays, we can teach you in 3 minutes and just tell you about it and make it simple to understand and learn in 3 minutes. We do the same thing for Cabernet Sauvignons. We do the same thing for lamb. What do you want to pair with lamb? How do you want to have lamb? How do you want to have steak? We dispel this thing red with meat and white with seafood. That was started a long, long time ago because people didn't understand that. But there's some great Chardonnays and some great white wines that I drink with meat all the time, and especially lamb. And it's just a myth. It's basically drink what you like, all right, and like what you drink. It's basically what it's all about. So our mission here is to kind of to put that knowledge out to the world, and we're doing that via the web. We'll be doing that via courses here here at the winery and also our new store in Huntington. And we're doing it through a group of loyal friends that are with us now as part of the family who are actually venturing out into the community as part of our Vineyard Wine Club organization that's basically holding these tastings in the home, in people's homes, and actually teaching them. This is one of the new wines, Avalon, that we're going to be introducing in the wine club that you guys are basically running for us. This is part of the cycle of the approachable and refreshing wines that we're talking about. This is an afternoon at the beach wine, or by the pool wine, that we're talking about something that's really approachable. It's a family-oriented, fun wine. The bottle is fun, the labels are fun. The wine is fun to drink. People that buy our wines are welcome here all the time. They have the picnic groves that they can schedule here. They can have parties here. The wine club folks come out all the time. We're going to have a black tie dance for these guys, in the summertime. And it's a matter of us giving back to the people that really support us. Our Vineyard Wine Club folk actually take the education and the wines and sit down in a social setting with people and explain the differences between 3 types of Chardonnays and 3 types of reds, and bring that concept to them there. We find that people are much more receptive and much more relaxed, even than coming into a tasting room, right, where there's a horde of folk around that they don't know, and we do get very, very busy here on the weekends. And, with their friends, they're able to sit down and discuss, and we talk about their own cuisine style. And we try to, before we go into one of these tastings, we try, what do you normally cook? What do you have? Are you Italian pastas? Are you lamb, meat dishes, lots of fish? And what we try and do is bring wines into the home that kind of complement the style of people's living, right? Which is what wine should be about, okay? That's what it should be about. So in doing this in a setting of their own home, we say, here's how we can pair, here's a wine that you can actually have with that lamb dish that you were describing to us that you make, or that fish dish that you describe, or that great stew that you have. And here's something that will stand up to the spices, right? And we educate people on how to pair this. Because wine, 80% of it is people drink it when they sit down for dinner, right? And most wine is actually bought the same day that people drink it. So let's educate people on the right wines to drink, with the right foods, and give them, the choices that are meaningful to them.
What kind of price range are these wines aimed to sell at?
Galluccio wines are priced from $16.99 to $26.99. We have a statement wine called Clos Juvin, which is named after my wife and I, and it's priced at $70, and it's basically made to be given to friends and restaurants and as our best of our best, but it's not going into the public marketplace.
Tell me what you really see for the future of this winery and the wines that you produce here.
Lots of fun, lots of growth, lots of change. If I could use one word that describes my management and business philosophy, is that it is change. When I wake up in the morning, as my wife likes to say, I erase and reset all the counters to zero. And I like to approach things with a fresh mind and without bias. And I think you make leaps then, okay, as opposed to steps in growing your business.
The inspiring story of Vince Galluccio and his family wineries here on Long Island. Not only is he having the time of his life, he is determined to make an impact on Long Island's wine industry. I'm Doug Llewellyn reporting from Catchog on Long Island.
Thank you for joining us on this special edition of Close Up on America's Business.